Hello, beautiful people. When you already have developed iOS applications, you might have experienced what I have experienced a lot in my career as an iOS developer. You're building your application, but you have to develop against a backend or an API that's not ready yet. Or sometimes it's even defined what it will look like or what the URL will look like you are going to connect to, but you still want to develop your application. You still want to see the user interface. You still want to develop the parts that communicate with the backend and all that stuff. So what you can do in this situation, you could add code in your API client, for example, to return some elements that will be in the final application just for testing purposes. But then you need to remember to remove that later on, and that can be dangerous and can lead to some bugs that are shipped into the App Store, for example. I have figured out or seen somewhere, I'm not sure where I got that from, how I can use breakpoints to fill my application with demo data to be used while I develop the application, the API client and the user interface and all that stuff, without the possibility to ship that later on, because breakpoints are just a feature inside of Xcode. As soon as I build this app for the App Store or for test flights, they are gone. They are not shipped within the app bundle. Let me show you how this looks like. So I have a small application for demonstration purposes. And what this does, it should load books from an API. So let us just skim over the code what it does. So I have a view controller. That's the book list view controller. It uses a diffable data source, and it is the view is set up like this. It's a table view that is just set up to take the whole space of the view. And the diffable data source uses that table view, registers a cell, and then fills that cell when books are found. It loads the book from an API endpoint. If this doesn't work, it logs the problem onto the console that we can figure out what's going on. And when books are found from the API or are returned from the API client, from the API endpoint, then we fill those into the data source. And let's just see the API client. At the moment, it's just really simple. We load the books from the URL, and the URL at the moment is just example.com. So we can't expect there to be some books to be loaded from that URL. But this is just to pretend that we don't have an API yet. I want to show you a real life example where you don't have the API yet. We know what elements are going to be returned from that API, but we don't have that API. You could build it yourself on a container in GitHub or something, but I want to show you how to use breakpoints to fill your user interface with demo data for development purposes. So the books are really simple objects because this is just a demonstration application. So the books have an ID, a title, and an author. And when we run the application, we see that, of course, the API client doesn't return anything from this API endpoint we are calling. Oh, sorry, I just stopped the execution. I wanted to show you the printout in the log, and you see, okay, we don't get anything we can decode because what we get doesn't look like a JSON file we can decode. Yeah, that's true. And this was expected. And when we now look into the user interface, there's nothing there because we didn't load any books from the API. What we could do is we could add, in case of API failure that we can't load anything, we could update our user interface with a demo book. Like this, ABC, TDD in iOS, and the author is me, Dominic Hauser. If we run the application now, we see that it now works, it shows something, but this is dangerous because it could happen that we are building the application, we want to test some edge cases, and we include this demo book, and we forgot to remove it before we load this application to the App Store, and then in case of API failure we get this demo book shown to all our users. This is not what we want, and it's not a good application, of course. Let me check if the recording still works. Yeah, looks like. Okay, so what we can do instead is I just copy this line we added here and remove it. And then I add a breakpoint at this line, and I add a debugger command. And the debugger command is E for execute, and then we add the code we just copied. So we call update with one book in this code here. And then we check the option automatically continue after evaluating actions. And if we do that and run the application again, now, okay, it took some time, but now we get, so let me do that again. So we build this application, we run it, we have some problems here, and then it calls our function, or our breakpoint is hit, and we get this this demo data added to our user interface to show you that the breakpoint is actually doing this work. Let me remove the breakpoint by disabling it, and we don't see anything here. So this is quite a neat trick to get something in the user interface we can work with. And as we are right now running in hot reloading mode, so I have set up this application that it works with hot reloading. How this is done, you can see in the video from last week. I have put it somewhere here in the video, so you can click there and see how this works. And what we can do here now, so the app is still running. I can go now in the cell here and change the author, for example, to the font to footnote, if this is not a very important information, and even we can change the author label text color, let it change to system gray, for example, system gray, and see how this looks like. And we maybe want to make this title of the book bigger, and then it looks like this. So this is how hot reloading works. If you want to see how this is set up, just click the video and watch it there. And this is how you can create a breakpoint that helps you with your application development before you have some parts of your application that provide you with data to show in the user interface. Let me know if this tip is helpful for you, if you do something similar like this, or let me even know how you deal with situations where you don't have an API but you still want to develop your application. So see you next time. Bye.